Hi, welcome to Week in Review, where we look at some of the news making headlines. I'm joined this week by our Capitol correspondent, Dale Denwalt, Meg Wingirter, our medical correspondent, and my old friend, Don Meekoy from the business desk. Dale, let's talk about stuff happening over at the Capitol yesterday. The Supreme Court. Supreme Court, yeah, absolutely. Big news, cigarette taxes or fee is no longer.
According to the Supreme Court, it's a tax. The legislature passed a fee late in session, the last week of session to be precise, and the Supreme Court on Thursday struck it down. They said this is an unconstitutional tax. It's clear that you passed this because you wanted to raise revenue.
And this punches a big old hole in the budget.
$215 million. Recommend people read Meg's story as well as mine in today's paper, talking about the effects of what could happen. Now these agencies, they're going to have to right away figure out how to reallocate their money without this $215 million. They're going to have to send the budget to the finance agency and say this is how we're going to spend it, and so that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
And Meg, these agencies, this is healthcare essentially that gets walloped by this. What are you hearing?
Well, the biggest concerns are coming from the mental health centers, because those that have state contracts, they rely very heavily on that state funding because they have to serve this group of patients. Now, if they can't replace that funding, they could conceivably cut down those services. For example, only serve people who are in crisis, which is not what you want to do. Ideally, you'd want to serve people before they get to the point that they're in a mental health crisis, but if there's not the funding, they may have to cut back on that. There's also a big concern among the nursing homes in case there are Medicaid cuts, because about 70% of nursing home residents in Oklahoma are paid for by Medicaid. So you really can't make that up if there's a substantial cut to your Medicaid reimbursement rates.
Right, and then the other devastating impact of the nursing home thing is that if you have these huge hits, especially in these rural communities where nursing homes are huge employers, central almost to the survival of some of these communities, and they see these nursing homes get hit, the ramifications are far-reaching. So Dale, is the idea that they'll be coming back for a special session to address this, or what are you hearing on that front?
Pretty much everybody and the governor thinks that we're going to have to come back to special session. What they actually do in session is still a mystery. There are a number of things that they could try to do to sort of mitigate this automatic shortfall that happened on Thursday. They could move money around from other agencies, sort of reappropriate. They could simply let these cuts stand, which I don't know if a lot of people want to do. They could try to raise money in the form of a tax, or try to do a little bit more, I guess, legally in the form of fees. They could end exemptions so that you collect more money that would have been exempted or credited. Really, I think probably everything's on the table, and they're just taking temperatures right now to see what is most palatable. And we don't even know when there might be a special session, because they're not going to go in until they have some kind of agreement in place.
So, as there's the continuing story for the last 3 years, Oklahoma continues to wrestle with a huge problem with their state budget. So We'll be continuing to keep an eye on that. Meg, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about INTEGRIS and Blue Cross Blue Shield are engaged in negotiations, and there are some problems there as well.
Yes, apparently those negotiations aren't going very well. Blue Cross customers and INTEGRIS patients have been getting letters letting them know that those negotiations seem to have hit a standstill, and if they don't come up with a solution by the end of the month, INTEGRIS would leave the Blue Cross network. Now, what that would mean if you're a Blue Cross customer who gets care at INTEGRIS, you could continue to do that, but you would be paying more out of pocket because they'd no longer have that deal making them a preferred provider. Or you could try to find a different place to get your care. there are going to be some exemptions for people with ongoing conditions, but you can't guarantee that you're going to be exempt. So people are going to have to make some decisions if they can't come to an agreement by the end of August.
Yeah, never good when one of your major insurers and one of your major hospital chains are not in agreement and are not corresponding on where patients can get care. How many folks are we talking about that could be affected by this? Do we have any idea of the numbers of folks?
Well, Integris estimates more than 100,000 people have gotten care who are in their hospitals who are Blue Cross customers.
So a lot of folks are going to be impacted by this. We'll continue to keep an eye on that one as well. Don, Hobby Lobby, man, they have a lot of warehouse space.
Yeah, they're big. They have stores all over the country. They do a tremendous amount of business, and all of their product comes out of warehouses here in Oklahoma City. And they're building another one, 1 million square feet under one roof, which will give them about 10 million square feet of warehouse space in Oklahoma City, most of it over on the southwest side where the company is based. And it's a huge percentage of all of the warehouse space in the metro area belongs to Hobby Lobby.
There was some crazy number about the number of football fields. I can't remember how many it was, but it was a lot of football fields.
It was a bunch, yeah. You could play a lot
Hundreds.
of football in there.
Seemed like a couple hundred
except
at
you'd
least.
be bumping into lots of vases and dried leaves and things.
And then the other thing that sort of struck me about that was just how much, like you said, the percentage of all warehouse space in Oklahoma City that is actually Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, and they have a different business model than, say, we were talking about this earlier, than, say, something like Amazon. Amazon is building one of their distribution centers here in Oklahoma City, and that's their model. They build them around the country, and then they distribute their products from all these various places. Hobby Lobby pretty much distributes everything from Oklahoma City. They bring it in here, they put it in warehouses, and then they load it up in trucks and they take it out to their stores all across the country.
It's really interesting distribution network. I'd be curious now how many trucks they must use and how,
I'm sure it's big numbers again.
I wonder if they're using compressed natural gas.
We would know that if we had. I'd have to look that up.
Okay. On another matter, Northeast Oklahoma City is getting a grocery store. Is it
Save-A-Lot.
replacing one?
No, here's what's happening. You've got this Northeast Oklahoma City is what's known, that part of town is known as a food desert. They do not have in this area availability of a grocery store with things like fresh produce that accepts things like SNAP and food stamps. So this is a big deal because they are going to get a grocery store in that area. That's the first thing. The second thing is it's a new chain that we have never had in Oklahoma City before called Save-A-Lot. There was a grocery store that was going to go in there, one of these cost plus discount grocery stores, which they weren't, some of the people, the city councilman in that area was not very happy with that. Because at one point they were promised they were going to get an upscale grocery store there. Then there was going to be a downscale grocery store. Now it's going to be a Save-A-Lot, which people are pretty happy about the Save-A-Lot. It's a new chain for Oklahoma City. It's well regarded, and there will be groceries. This is Northeast 36th and Kelly, where they're talking about putting this in. I think for the most part, people are pretty happy about this.
And you mentioned this was sort of part of an anchor for a larger project there, wasn't it, at one time?
Yeah, and Jack Money, who wrote about this, talked about how not only do they now have this Save-A-Lot signed up to go in there, there's also some kind of dollar store that's going in there, which is a nice piece to go alongside, and they're hoping that this whole corner will kind of fill in, which has been the plan all along, that you sort of revitalize this area, which had really kind of been hollowed out.
Great. A lot of news, a lot of stuff going on. That's where you can find out about it, in the paper, online. Meg's story, I think, runs tomorrow. You can find out a lot more about the issues between Integris and Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Dale, Sunday, actually, sorry about that. Dale, you have anything coming up this weekend on this continuing cigarette issue? Where we go next?
Have to wait till Monday on that.
Monday, okay, well.
Can
Things
I,
to look forward to. So we got things for the next few days. So.
show something off here?
Oh yeah, Dale. What's the deal with?
So this is Oklahoma's first flag. I'm a pretty big homer for the state of Oklahoma, and I really like this flag. Take a look. You like it? It's really bright, really red. Well, if you've driven by the state capitol, you see that these flags are flying outside the state capitol. It's the first Oklahoma flag. They got them for sale. I got one, and I wanted to kind of show it off to everybody.
So that's the original state flag.
Yeah, well, Not this particular flag. It's a replica of, I don't want to be coy here.
Okay. Awesome. No, it's very cool.
Yeah,
Like it.
like $35 in the state capitol gift room.
Sweet. Are they going to go through all the different flags at some point?
I don't think so.
Something to think about. Marketing. Okay, great. Listen, check us out. We're here all the time. See you next week.